Alright, texture design. So I'm going to run you briefly through texture design. Something that, is one of those things that if you took the texture rendering and lighting course, of course you would see there's a lot of opportunities there. So, but if you didn't, here's a good way to start in on the process right away. So I'm going to give you a bunch of Photoshop tips, okay? So we're going to start a new document. 2048 by 2048. And I'm going to pluck down some shapes here on a new layer. And for each shape, I'm just going to fill it in with a color. It doesn't really matter what the color is. And again, I'm just randomly making these. It's not like I have any kind of plan whatsoever. I'm just making kind of an unreal style to this. And then lastly, I'm going to make this maybe a circle to break it up. Give it some balance maybe. And we'll put that circle right here and then fill that in. Alright, and maybe crop out some of this. And just add a whole bunch of little ones in here. So holding shift for this. There we go. Alright, so the idea behind this is keep it loose, keep it nice, and let's make a new layer. This layer I'm going to fill with a little bit different shade. I'm using HSB here for the colors. That way I can lower down the black value on this. And I'm just going to fill that in. Okay, very boring stuff, very cool stuff. Here I'm going to double click this. I'm going to change a few things. I'm going to do some bevel and emboss. I'm going to do an outer bevel and emboss. And change up some of the depth on it. Some of the size ratio on it. And maybe even the type. Okay, just like that. And I want to do an outward glow and change it to something like dissolve. Now, what happens here is, I got all this grain, okay? Well, this grain can be turned into things. Namely, I can grab a color and I can use it as noise. Sometimes I just choose a little bit off of it and a little bit of jitter and a little bit of noise. Just enough to be like that. Okay, good. Now I got something that looks more like a console panel or raised out. Okay. Then I'm going to go to this layer and make a layer just above it, and I'm going to make a brush here. This brush is going to become invaluable later on. It is a noise brush, so 128 by 128, and I'm going to use a pencil for this. And it's one of those underutilized things within Photoshop half the time is the pencil. And you can see for anything that I choose here, the pencil is just very, 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 very basic. You can actually draw with just one single pixel or many single pixels. But what I'm going to do here is lay down a few pixels that are this color. And then I'm going to raise the opacity up. And still further. Just like that. And every once in a while I might put in square pixels too. Good. I'm going to edit define brush preset. Call this noise. And I'm going to go back to the brush and use that noise brush. Okay, I made one of these earlier, so I got a couple of these. This one has, has some kind of color behind it. If you have that same problem, what we could do here is image adjustment, black and white, and get rid of all blue. It looks like there's a blue haze here, so I'm just going to level this out. Yeah, well, it might have helped if I started on a new layer, but you get the idea. You know, it's just a bunch of random dots, and the dots have no rhyme and reason. It's just noise. So maybe I'll do that one more time. It's very important not to get too big on the dots. There we go. Okay, so now I got this brush, and I got several variations of it. I can go back, and what I'm going to do on this layer is take this brush and change some of the properties on it. So brush, first off I'm going to do shape dynamics, I'm going to do some angle jitter, and then I'm going to do some scattering, and I can scatter this all over the place. Okay. Close that out. Choose a darker value, and what I'm doing here is painting in some noise. So, and don't make this big. Use a very, very small brush. It'll work a lot better for it. There we go. Okay, lastly, what I want to do is go in and find some texture. So I'll show you a good place to get texture. Okay, houseoftutorials.net/zfleamarket. Down below I got metal. And I got all kinds of metal in here. Tons and tons of metal. Some need white balancing pretty bad. But things like this, for example, is really nice. This has a noise value to it. And this is something that you almost couldn't falsify using a brush. You could, but it'd take you a while. I'm just going to paste this over the top of everything and resize it down just a smidge. And then I'm going to add this as a different kind of layer. This one's going to be a pin light. Or soft light. Yeah, let's do soft light. So you can see automatically that scruffed it up pretty good and made it so it doesn't look so weird. Let's go in and find another one. That one I like using a lot. This one I like using a lot too. This one I'll make really big. And apply that as a soft light layer. And then turn that down a little bit. Now all of a sudden, it just got a lot better. What I don't like is this outer glow with the size. I just want just a little bit of outer glow, just to give it some, yeah, just like that. Just a smidge around the outside edge. Last thing I want to do is kind of make this tileable, and to do that, all I have to do there is add to this layer. Well, I don't want to add to that layer. I'd rather add a new layer and keep some of the properties on that one just below it. So here, I'm going to take just a normal brush and fill in the outside edges. And what this will do, it'll make it tileable. Certainly you don't have to do this for everyone. Just this one because I want it on the wall over and over again. Okay, so what do I got here? I got noise. This one I'm going to turn down just a little bit because I want black, but I want just a different color. I can hold control of the top of it and change my mind anytime, and this time get a lighter gray, just so that noise value kind of shows through. See, now that looks a lot better. If I want to add the same kind of bevel to it, I can. If I click on this one and copy it, I can copy the layer style right onto this one. So now I got even more depth, and I can keep going over and over again until I got enough depth if I wanted to. The last thing I want to do is in this area, I want to make a new layer. Right over the top of this, I want to make a light. Okay, so I'm going to put a round circle here. I'm going to grab a brush. This new layer needs to be a linear dodge add, and I'm going to use a soft brush, which is also going to be a linear dodge add. Okay. Well, I want a kind of a bluish light, so I'm going to choose a blue like this. And just hit it a couple times. And then maybe make it a little bit smaller. Hit one more time. Okay. If I want to kind of make that so it looks like it's part of a new part, I can do strokes around it. I can do some outer bevel contour. And I can play around with this until it looks like it's sunk in a little bit more. I can also go like this, so it looks like the light is going right on to the outside edge. So that adds an incredible amount of depth there. Alright, so there we go. That's how you create an Unreal texture type of look. Of course, you can add more grunge in here by hand. I'm using a mouse right now, and I don't have my Wacom drawing tablet hooked up. So I'm going to leave it like this, and in the next video I'll show you how to import it in.